चाहिए, इतना इलाज का पैसा दे दो, इतना गाड़ी का दे दो, जस्टिस डिलीवरी कर दी और चले गए आप. Then why do we resort to the moot courts? Why the competitions are being organized? What is the need of all these things? To me, we are not having dearth of laws. The only problem which we have is on enforcement, on implementation. नहीं आ रही आवाज? नहीं, चल तो रहा. कोई बात नहीं. I think I am louder also. That is the real problem. Then how to address it? That all depends on as to who is at the helm of affairs. You must have gone through the landmark judgments of the Supreme Court. D.K. Basu case is one among them. The judge who authored this judgment, Justice A.S. Anand, I served under him. मैंने उनसे पूछा कि लॉर्डशिप आपने जजमेंट दिया, आपने इस जजमेंट में यहां तक लिखा कि नॉन compliance of these commandments of the Supreme Court will be construed as contempt of this court. मैंने कहा मुझे तो दिल्ली का एक भी थाना नजर नहीं आया जहां पे डीके बासु केस की गाइडलाइंस फॉलो होती हूं. नहीं होती. बॉन्डेड लेबर सिस्टम एबोलिशन एक्ट, social welfare legislation enacted by the parliament in the year 1976. Abolition act, not prohibition. Abolition. और आपके यहाँ से मुश्किल से 10 किलोमीटर दूर से मैंने बंधुआ मजदूर छुड़वाए थे जब मैं NHRC में था. We are still struggling with this social menace. Why? Implementation is not there. And you see the wisdom of the parliament. This particular act empowers an executive magistrate with the powers of a judicial magistrate first class, and that too by holding the summary trial. But then the errant employers are not being prosecuted. The entire financial burden is on the central government to rehabilitate the victims. But the prosecution has been made condition precedent, meaning thereby that the very purpose for which this social welfare legislation was enacted, the rehabilitation scheme which was drafted and put in place, the purpose has got defeated to a larger extent. मैं ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं लूँगा आपका, we are already behind the schedule. NHRC में केसेज आते थे वो एक अलग कहानी थी, मैं उस पर नहीं जा रहा. मैं आज जो डील कर रहा हूँ मैं उस पर जाता हूँ. एक साल पहले 8 अप्रैल 2025 को मैंने CWC के चेयरपर्सन की जिम्मेदारी संभाली. 2 घंटे मुझे मुश्किल से बैठे हुए थे. कापासेड़ा की पुलिस ने एक लड़की को प्रोड्यूस किया. 14 साल की लड़की, 5.5 महीने की प्रेग्नेंट, इतना बड़ा सिंदूर यहाँ पे लगा हुआ. दीनदयाल उपाध्याय हॉस्पिटल का मेडिकल सर्टिफिकेट, 34 किलो वजन, 34 kg. हमने कहा MTP करवा देते. नहीं, बच्चे को जन्म दूंगी. मैंने कहा मर जाओगे. बोले नहीं. पोक्सो हमारे यहां एनेक्ट हुआ बच्चों के लिए. मूट कोर्ट में पढ़ाया जाएगा कि पोक्सो के लिए किस तरह से एनफोर्समेंट होना चाहिए, क्या चैलेंजेज आएंगे और आएंगे. बट डार्कर साइड इज majority of the cases go unreported. रिपोर्ट ही नहीं होते, और होते हैं रिपोर्ट तो मैं दूसरा बताता हूँ। उसके 2 घंटे बाद क्या आया, पुलिस ने प्रोड्यूस किया बच्चों को। एक थाने के बच्चे बोलते हैं खाटू श्याम जी गए थे, सारी लड़कियां इस थाने की खाटू श्याम जी जाती हैं, क्योंकि माइनर बच्चे का जैसे मिसिंग का आता है FIR दर्ज होती है, दूसरे से हरिद्वार ऋषिकेश, तीसरे के बुआ के यहाँ पे। मैं लॉज की जो चैलेंज, ये रियल लाइफ चैलेंज बता रहा हूँ मैं आपको, जो मैंने साल भर में देखे हैं। लव जिहाद आपने अखबारों में पढ़ा होगा, मैंने तो लव जिहाद के केसेस डील किए हैं। किस तरह से लड़कियों को ले जाया जाता है, उनके डॉक्यूमेंट्स रखे जाते हैं, आंध्र प्रदेश में एक डेजिग्नेटेड प्लेस है, वहाँ ले जाया जाता है, वहाँ कलीमा पढ़ा जाता है, और वहाँ पे फिर उसके बाद में निकाह होता है। डील कर रहा हूँ। 100 नंबर की कॉल आती है, पुलिस लेके आती है, साहब परेश ये हल्ला मचा रहे थे, हम यहाँ लेकर के आ गए। थोड़ा सा हम जब मेहनत करते हैं, ड्रग पेडलिंग के अंदर निकलते हैं। These are the challenges. Laws are there. But then, इसलिए आप लोगों को ये चीज़ें बता रहा हूँ मैं कि क्लासरूम में आपको रूल ऑफ लॉ भी मिलेगा पढ़ने के लिए। क्रिमिनल जस्टिस सिस्टम की डिफरेंट जो इंट्रिकेसीज हैं, स्टेजेज हैं, सारा का सारा आप लोग जो ग्राउंड पे चल रहा है उससे आप सजग रहें, उसके प्रति आप कॉन्शियस रहें। ये मेरा पर्पस था बताने के लिए। आप लोगों ने मुझे बहुत शांति से सुना, आपका धन्यवाद। आप लोगों ने मुझे बुला के जो सम्मान दिया, आप सभी का भी धन्यवाद। थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you so much, sir. Your words truly inspire and set a benchmark for all the legal aspirants. And in fact, the examples that you gave, the practical, the ground reality, that's something we can only get to read in the textbooks. As a token of our deep respect and gratitude, I request Professor Dr. Lalit Agarwal, sir, Lieutenant General P.J.S. Pannu, sir, Professor Dr. Preet Singh, sir, and Professor Dr. Umesh Gupta, sir, to kindly felicitate Shri O.P. Vyas, sir. Thank you so much. There was a time when space belonged only to scientists. Today, it demands lawyers, policymakers, and thinkers. The Department of Space Studies at MERI reflects this shift, preparing minds to engage with questions that did not exist a decade ago. The MERI Department of Space Studies was inaugurated by Shri I.P. Agarwal, President, MERI Group of Institutions. Its pioneering initiatives are designed to integrate theoretical astrophysics and practical applications between academic excellence and global space economy. Its focus extends beyond engineering to embrace the strategic, managerial, and policy-driven dimensions of the new space era. From regulation of satellites to questions on jurisdiction beyond borders, this department represents a bold step into the future. Law has evolved with time. Every new era brings with new questions, new challenges, and new possibilities. But what happens when those questions go beyond borders, beyond jurisdiction, beyond everything we have ever known? Because sometimes the future of law is not only argued in the courtroom, but it can be first imagined on the stage with a skit. Please welcome the team presenting The Orbit of Liability.
Hello, Mr. Rao.
Hello, Mr. Verma. How are you?
Thank you for seeing me on such short notice.
Not an issue, not an issue.
So, I'm just planning to launch a satellite with the providers like SpaceB. So, I'm just need to understand all the risks. What if the
Yes, yes.
what if the launch fails, or worse, the satellite crashes or enters another country's space?
So everyone over here, do you listen to his question very carefully? Have you listened to the question? He is asking about, he is planning to launch a satellite with some third party, and wants to get an agreement with that. So what are the loopholes that he is basically asking? What are the loopholes that he has to take care of? Anyone over here? Anyone?
First of all, there has to be a legally enforceable contract, and terms of the contract should not be oppressive against the third party.
That's perfect. Anyone else? So, Mr. Prashant Jain is partly right, as our space law is precisely revolving around such agreements, and such agreements should be covered enough that it should cover all the clauses with relation to the third parties. Any more questions, Mr. Verma?
Yes. If the rocket explodes and the satellites go back to the Earth, what will be then happen?
Does anyone know the answer of this question? In that case, the Outer Space Treaty and the Liability Convention applies. In that scenario, you have to be very sure that your agreements contain such clauses wherein you are covered with that things. Yes, sir. Please.
Okay, so if the government pays internationally, should I reimburse them?
Yes, absolutely, because your insurance have to be covered with that. Because insurance undertakes the liability that at the end, if your satellite crashes, the government will pay you on that behalf because it happens in the international space. But at the end, you are yourself liable. You have to pay for that.
Okay, what about when the satellites enters another country's space? Can they object or sue us?
Then you have to be very clear that it comes around that your liability is the fault base. You have to understand about the radio signals and the frequencies that you have opted for that. Because as we know, very simple example, any FM radio channel has their own fixed frequency satellite. If we try to burst into that satellite or that frequency level, you automatically burn into the jurisdiction of the other party. So you have to be very cautious with that as well.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Mr. Rao, if my satellites,
1 second.
yeah,
So your question was also regarding entering into another country's space.
yeah,
Generally, satellites are geocentric satellites. These satellites, they generally revolve around the Earth with the speed of the revolution of the Earth, rotation of the Earth. So they remain fixed on the same geographical location from which they are supposed to be, moving around the Earth. So the coordinates of the satellite with respect to Earth do not change. So generally the chances are very less unless the satellite has some fault or there is some problem in the movement of the satellite. Generally the chances are the satellite would stay at the same location and it would not enter into another country's airspace.
thank you.
Yes, Mr. Verma. Next question.
So, if my satellite is collides with the another one, so what will be then happen?
Yes, exactly. Every single accident, whether the control or any other thing, can escalate into the diplomatic engagement between the states. You have to be very cautious with that. Your agreement should specify the clauses itself.
So, this is turning into a chain of responsibilities.
Absolutely. Every action is equal to opposite reaction. You have to be very cautious regarding to each and every clause you are entering because every action leads to a very chain of responsibilities. Yes.
What about the data collected by the satellites? The captures images of the another countries or in the region.
Do you know the example of Pokhran case? The Panu sir at the last time told me at the time when Pokhran and the nuclear testing was going on over there. At that time, the US was capturing the images from the satellites, stating that kis tarike se movement ho rahi hai. That is the thing. The sovereignty issue comes over there.
And if the dispute arises internationally,
Then there has to be an arbitration clause. The arbitration clause will clearly specify the governing law, the body, the space, the venue, the seat, and each and everything, who will be the arbitrators, the number of arbitrators, etc. Yes.
I'm just assuming launching a satellite, it's only a technical challenge.
No, it involves technical as well as legal aspects as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Rao, for guiding me and clearing my all the doubts.
Thank you, Mr. Verma.
Thank you so much, team, for that truly engaging and conversation-driven skit. And now, it brings us to a leader whose journey spans not just in levels of command, but levels of vision, from grounded realities of strategy to perspectives that rise far beyond into the stratosphere of thought and leadership. It is an honor to introduce Lieutenant General Dr. P.J. Spanu, PVSM, AVSM, VSM, retired, former Deputy Chief of Integrated Defense Staff and Dean of Department of Space Studies at MERI, a decorated officer who has commanded across critical frontiers, a strategic thinker who has contributed to the national level defense planning, and a visionary who has played a key role in establishing India's defense space and cyber framework. Sir was the chairman of the project management team for the National War Memorial in New Delhi, which marked its completion within an year and was handed over to the nation by the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi in 2019. Sir is the epitome of leadership, excellence, and patriotism, and he continues to guide us towards understanding the future of space, security, and governance. With great respect, I invite Lieutenant General Dr. P.J. Spanu, sir, to address the gathering and throw some light on what our audience just witnessed in the skit. Sir, please.
Jai Hind, Jai Hind, Professor Lalit Agarwal, Shri Vyas ji, Shri Mahavir ji or Dr. Preet, and of course Professor Umesh Gupta. आपकी जितनी भी उम्र है, मैं मानता हूं कि बहुत अच्छी उम्र है. You are at the right time, at the right place in this world. But you also have challenges. The good thing about you in your age is that you are actually standing at shunya, zero. From here you can decide where to go. Similarly, Mother Earth is shunya. And when you talk about the space, from here you have to decide how to go to the space in case we need to think of space and do anything about space. पहले मैं आपकी उस तवारीख से वाकफियत कराता हूं कि 1999 में पाकिस्तान ने हमारे कारगिल क्षेत्र में घुसपैठ कर दी. Nobody came to know that there was some kind of infiltration which has happened. Because there was nobody there. It was winters. And when it came to be known, some graziers came down when the weather improved, and they came down and said, वहाँ पे ऊपर कुछ हरकत है, कुछ लोग बैठे हुए हैं, वो शायद पाकिस्तानी है. तो a lot of people didn't believe कि पाकिस्तानी कहाँ से आ गए इतनी बर्फ में. उसके बाद एक यंग ऑफिसर, एक जाट रेजिमेंट का यंग ऑफिसर हम हरियाणा में बैठे हैं, सौरभ कालिया को टास्क दिया गया, वो आपकी उम्र का था, कि जाओ देख के आओ कि क्या घुसपैठ हुई है और ये ग्रेजियर क्या बातचीत कर रहे हैं. तो कैप्टन सौरभ कालिया अपनी जाट रेजिमेंट की एक पेट्रोल लेके निकला और वो काक्सर की पढ़ाई के पीछे से जाके ऊपर चढ़ा. और आप जब बटालिक से देखते हो, ये सब जगह ऊपर से दिखाई देती है, जहां आप कारगिल में जाके देखो तो वहां उसने जो देखा हमें कुछ पता नहीं है, क्योंकि हमने नहीं देखा उसने क्या देखा, और वो वापस ही नहीं आया. तकरीबन कुछ हफ्ते निकल गए, एक और पेट्रोल भेजी, और इस पेट्रोल में वो ग्रेजियर थे जिन्होंने वो खबर दी थी कि ये कैप्टन सौरभ कालिया ढूंढ के आओ, कहाँ पे चले गए. तो उन्होंने कैप्टन सौरभ कालिया की डेड बॉडी और उनके साथियों की डेड बॉडी पाई, और उनको काटा गया था, उनकी आंखें निकाली हुई थी और उनके जेनाइटल्स वगैरह सब काट के उनके मुंह में डाल दिए थे। ये पाकिस्तान ने काम किया। अगर हमारे पास सैटेलाइट होती तो शायद हमें कैप्टन सौरभ कालिया को उन पहाड़ियों पे ना भेजना पड़ता चेक करने के लिए कि वहां पे क्या है, कितने लोग हैं, क्या लेके आए हैं, कहां से आए हैं। ऑल दिस वुड हैव बीन नोन, हमें मालूम ही नहीं था। अभी इसी चीज को अटैक करके हमने दुश्मन को खदेड़ना था। तो उसके बाद क्या हुआ कि हमारी एयरफोर्स को, आर्टिलरी को, इन्फेंट्री को ये टास्क दिया गया कि चेक करो कहां कहां घुसपैठ हुई है, क्या हम उसको एयरक्राफ्ट से बर्बाद कर सकते हैं या। तो जो सैटेलाइट से एक्यूरेट निशाना लगाने के लिए हमें जिस चीज की जरूरत थी वो था जीपीएस। जो आज आपको रास्ता दिखाता है वो जीपीएस आपके मोबाइल में लगा हुआ है, जीपीएस। तो अमेरिका ने जीपीएस को बंद कर दिया। अमेरिका हमें जीपीएस की सहूलत दे रहा था, फैसिलिटी दे रहा था, हमने खरीदी, और वो जीपीएस हमारे आर्मी में, एयरफोर्स में इस्तेमाल हो रहा था जाके चेक करने के लिए वो कहां कहां क्या घुसपैठ हुई है। अगर उसको निशाना बनाने तो उसको हमें जीपीएस की जरूरत थी, वो कोऑर्डिनेट्स को अपने सिस्टम में फीड करने के लिए जीपीएस स्विच ऑफ कर दी। इसके बाद हमें पता चला कि सैटेलाइट अगर हमारे पास होती तो पहली बात तो हम देख पाते, दूसरी बात अगर सौरभ कालिया को ऐसा कष्ट था तो उनके पास सैटेलाइट फोन होता, वो हमें सैटेलाइट फोन से बता देता कि उनके साथ क्या हो रही है, या वो उनको घेरे में डाल दिया, तो कम्युनिकेशन भी नहीं हुआ। और तीसरी बात है, हमारा जो जीपीएस की सैटेलाइट की फैसिलिटी थी वो अमेरिका ने विड्रॉ कर ली। उस टाइम पे इंडिया में मिलिट्री के लिए कोई ऐसी सैटेलाइट कोई व्यवस्था नहीं थी। लेकिन आज अगर हम बात करते हैं तो वी आर इनटू इंडस्ट्रियल एज, वी आर इनटू इंफॉर्मेशन एज। But what you realize is that more and more technology comes in. The technology is advancing, but the human relationship is receding. Technology is going forward and human relationship is going backward. तो इससे क्या हो रहा है कि लड़ाइयाँ ज़्यादा हो रही हैं, आर्ग्यूमेंट्स ज़्यादा हो रही हैं, डिस्प्यूट्स ज़्यादा हो रही हैं, इंडस्ट्रियल डिस्प्यूट्स हो रही हैं। तो सबसे पहले जैसे ही टेक्नोलॉजी आती है, सबसे पहले एक पॉलिसी का पहाड़ सामने आके खड़ा जाता है। मैं रेगुलेटर हूं, ये ऐसी पॉलिसी है क्योंकि मेरे को समझ नहीं आई, क्योंकि ये जो नई टेक्नोलॉजी है ये हमारी पॉलिसी को ऊपर से निकल गई, तो हम इसको क्या करते हैं, सबसे पहले रोको क्योंकि समझ नहीं आई, फिर उसको रेगुलेट करो, फिर उसके ऊपर सोच विचार करो, फिर चेक करो ये किसने बनाई, ये क्या हम बना सकते हैं कि नहीं, तब तक वो टेक्नोलॉजी आउटडेटेड हो चुकी होती। तो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट ये है कि जब हम यहाँ मेरी में बैठे हैं, हम लॉ स्टूडेंट से बात कर रहे हैं, यहीं से ही पॉलिसी मेकर और रेगुलेटर भी निकलेंगे। और आपको पता है कि अगर टेक्नोलॉजी एडवांस कर रही है और ह्यूमन रिलेशनशिप रिवर्स गियर में है, तो ये जो डिस्प्यूट्स हैं ये भी सॉल्व करने के लिए ये भी केस बनेंगे, ये भी आप लोगों के पास आएंगे। तीसरी बात, अगर टेक्नोलॉजी आई है तो टेक्नोलॉजी को मार्केट में उतारने से पहले उसकी एडवोकेसी, मार्केटिंग बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। तो ये नहीं है कि लॉयर जो है वो सिर्फ कोर्ट में केस लड़ता है। A lawyer can also be an advocate in marketing, because you are trained for advocacy. You are the ones who can make people see reason why it should be done. You are the ones who can go to the government, go to the policy maker to say, we want it right now. The regulator should not stop it, because without it, we will have a problem. So as a result, between 1999, when I'm talking about when we require technology, till date, our policy does not allow space to be used for military purposes. Because technology, requirement, regulation, और facilitation of किसने spec बनाई और किसने testing lab बनाई, तो ये सब एक एडवोकेसी और ये एक लीगल दायरे में, सब लीगल फ्रेमवर्क में आता है। तो होता क्या है, there are two things which one has faced is, one is might is right. आप जो मर्जी लॉ पढ़ लो, the law will favor the powerful because the powerful will jump over the law and create another law. Law is made by the king of the day, and law is made and changed by the other powerful king of the next day. So what has happened is that you see Trump, who has now changed the rules of the game. He has gone away from rule making and he's gone towards deal making. अगर आप institution को follow करो और rules को follow करो तो आप deal नहीं कर सकते. अगर आपने deal करनी है तो then the rules will be written according to the convenience of the dealer. So therefore, when you are talking about something new, which is space and cyber, we have been struggling from how the technology should come to India, how the technology that gets evolved in India or gets incubated in India, that gets accepted. And once it gets accepted, its acceleration has to be so good that we can bend rules or make new rules to suit what suits us. So therefore, the job of an advocate is to see reason, what is required, must be taken to the market in the quickest possible time to benefit the nation. I think that is where the first part of the advocacy comes in. Otherwise, we will continue to struggle and we will never get the set of rules, we will never get set of laws, we will never get the right policy in time, and by the time we get it, there will be another animal in the room. So therefore, आज सुबह जो अभी एक मूट कोर्ट की बात हो रही थी कि दो कैरेक्टर्स यहाँ थे, एक जो कि एक सैटेलाइट बना के यहाँ स्पेस सेक्टर में नया आया, और दूसरा एक लॉयर है जो उसको लीगल फ्रेमवर्क्स की बात कर रहा है कि कैन यू डू इट और यू कैन नॉट डू इट. But the point is that this man who is into business, he wants to do it because it is required. But the other side will say you can't do it because this is a barrier and that is a barrier, and the business then kicks in because the deal kicks in. So therefore, insurance is one very big thing which has come into the market, is that if you are a manufacturer of a satellite, you have built the satellite to print a design given by somebody. But if you have not built it according to the print, then the lawyer or the arbitrator has to come in whether the whole satellite has been built to print, and if it has not worked, then the lawyer's job is to make sure that the entire contract of the build to print is given that look of fine print so that there are no legal hassles in that. Second thing is that the lawyer must also understand the technology disruptions which are going to happen from the beginning of the project to the end of the project, because the cyber attacks, the designs can be stolen, the designs can be altered, the artificial intelligence can trigger in some fault into your designs, into manufacturer. When you talk about artificial intelligence, you're talking about zero defect manufacture. It means your precision manufacturing has to be done through the systems, and that can be altered by somebody. Your materials can be altered by somebody. So by the time the product comes up, you have to make sure that there is no interference in the manufacturing on the floor shop. Third thing is, आपके सामने उन्होंने एक केस इनेक्ट किया था कि उसने सैटेलाइट तो बना ली, लेकिन लॉन्च करने के लिए वो कहीं जा रहा है. तो अगर वो लॉन्च करने के लिए कहीं जा रहा है, वो रॉकेट किसी और का है, सैटेलाइट आपकी है, तो ट्रांजिट में कुछ हो सकता है. दूसरी बात, अगर रॉकेट के ऊपर वो वाली सैटेलाइट बनी है तो रॉकेट और सैटेलाइट के आपस में कंपैटिबिलिटी तो होनी चाहिए. इसी दौरान cyber systems have to also make sure that they are both covered under the cyber laws. They are all under the cyber shield of protection. And if something goes wrong, in spite of all that the contracts have been right, the designs have been checked and evaluated, then the insurance kicks in. That should the rocket carrying the satellite cannot deploy the satellite onto the right orbit, the lawyer must be able to go into the investigation of what happened. And therefore, depending on the case, whether it is covered by insurance or not, so the insurance company would also want to go for a space lawyer's employment, and the space company would also want to know that the insurance claim must be given to them so that he can cover the cost and again restart the entire process of manufacturing of the satellite. So I think it is very important that you are starting at a place now that you can decide which way to go. You can become a space manager, you can become a space lawyer, you can become insurance manager in some company who understands the space as a domain. So I think space is a new domain which has come up, and I think that is where you guys are very lucky that you have more and more technology coming in, and you will have more and more knowledge that you will have to. Actually, lawyer is the most educated person, because firstly, in the parliament, the law gets made. I think initially in the first parliament we had about 40% or 37, 36% lawyers in the first parliament. Unfortunately, it has gone down to only 3 to 4% now. ज़्यादातर लॉ मेकिंग जो पार्लियामेंट में होती है ज़्यादा लॉयर होते थे पहले, आजकल कम है क्योंकि शायद उनको प्राइवेट प्रैक्टिस में ज़्यादा मज़ा आ रहा है. So I wish you all the best, that from lawmaker to the new norm of deal making, I think you have to understand in the prism of law, and I'm sure that you will have a great time in this moot court program of yours. Thank you, Jan.
Sir, one second, sir. There are questions, sir, here.
You have a question?
Very good afternoon, sir. My name is Lavanya, BBLLB, final year law student. With due respect, I would like to ask that how does space law benefiting us today, and what opportunities it creates for us in future? Because it's a very new concept for all of us.
Even I have been wondering over a period of time, till the time I realized that I cannot progress even one step without a space lawyer. The moment a satellite gets launched, it leaves the Earth. It actually loses sovereignty. It becomes a global common. It goes into the control of the United Nations ITU. The first and foremost thing is that before you have to launch a satellite, you have to argue why you want a slot. Why you want a slot through the ITU of a particular type, of whether in GEO, in MEO, or wherever, whatever orbital plane you want to send your satellite. But if you don't get a slot, the first person who has to argue this case is a lawyer, that why I want this slot, and why you are denying me, because you have to go into the investigative mode of why UN is denying you something, because there's a lot of politics involved in the allotment of ITU slots. That is point one. Point two is that the moment your satellite is to be launched, they will investigate on the purpose for which you created a satellite. You have to make sure that you are conforming to the Outer Space Treaty, which prohibits space to be used for carrying weapons of mass destruction. Now, it means nuclear, biological, chemical, radiological, all these kind of weapons. You cannot use space for all these purposes. But again, there is a shade of gray. If you have to launch a missile which is carrying a nuclear warhead, it does not go into the space, or it enters the space and re-enters the atmosphere and then strikes. Did the outer space get used for a nuclear weapon or not? There is a question mark. Second thing is, if that missile is controlled by the space, you use space for launch of a nuclear, chemical, radiological weapon. So all these cases become very complicated even before you have to take a decision to launch or make something like that. I must also tell you, in the domain of warfare, nobody can actually write a concept of operations, without legal vetting. Because all the CONOPS, that is the concept of operations, got to conform to some norm or the other, whether it is Geneva Conventions or whatever. There are far too many articles in it, in how you fight a war. But today you realize that the United States of America has actually trumped all the laws, all the regulations, because he's on to deal making. Here is the president of a country who's actually threatening another country that I'll destroy the whole civilization. Where is the law in it? Where is the rule in it? Where is the regulation in it? Nothing. So therefore I said might is right. So tomorrow you will find you have to have lawyers, and therefore even in the United States the Supreme Court struck down many decisions which the president has taken, like on tariffs. So therefore when I say that the lawyer is the most powerful and most educated person on this planet, is because he can actually regulate the king of the day. But if the king of the day is more powerful, then the king of the day will make sure that the laws are made to suit that king, and the laws will then continue to go through amendments. So space is a very complicated sector, and therefore it will benefit you as students, because there are very few people in this sector, and space is going to now be the next thing. The cyber is the next thing. Cyber already came. Space has come after that, but actually space is older than cyber. Space is the fourth domain, but very expensive domain. Cyber is the fifth domain, cheaper domain, so cyber has expanded faster, but space in India would need lawyers to handle very, very intricate cases, right from designing to launch and for war fighting. Sorry for a long answer.
Good afternoon, sir. Ankush Agarwal this side from LLB third 3-year course, final semester. Sir, basically, what happens when multiple states are involved in launching a space object at a particular time period?
I can answer with my gut, but I actually missed because your phone, your microphone, there was some disturbance. Can you tell me multiple, something you said?
Some multiple space objects, multiple states are involved in launching a multiple state like space objects at a particular time.
Okay, so as far as the time of launch is concerned, different countries are launching it at the same time. So I think the first thing is ITU. When you are given a slot in the ITU, you're also generally given the time in which you have to launch. Secondly, you have to see if there are two launches which are going to interfere in the other launch. Then there will be a control that those slots will have to be changed. Third thing is that when multiple stakeholders are involved, then imagine the number of contracts which will actually be pushed along with a few people who are all multiple stakeholders to make sure that there is no complication between the two type of things which are happening at the same time. For example, now SpaceX has already launched some about 12,000 satellites. Sometime back we were talking about 8,000, then few days later we started talking about 10,000 satellites. I think it's already 12,000 satellites. They're going to 50,000 and 1 lakh satellites in the lower Earth orbit. Now they have decided that they will leave the lower orbit and now go to the GEO. It means at 36,000 kilometers high, where there are more slots available, because they'll start pushing it there. Now, if you have to launch a satellite on a higher orbit, it has to go through the lower orbit with number of satellites that are already moving in that. So imagine the kind of coordination in different stakeholders that LEO constellation is already congested, through which you have to throw a satellite to the medium or to the geosynchronous or geo orbit. So you will find that internationally a lot of coordination is required, and between different companies, different components are being made. They have to fit with precision. So I think coordination and contract between various stakeholders is extremely important in all this, so that there is no confusion.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, in fact, your commendable session, plus you took it from Shunya to the space, effortlessly immersing us in your vision that clearly proves how you're leading the Department of Space Studies at MERI. Once again, a big round of applause for Panu, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jai Hind. Thank you, Lakshmi.
I now request Professor Dr. Lalit Agarwal sir, Professor Dr. Preet Singh sir, and Professor Dr. Umesh Gupta sir to felicitate Lieutenant General Dr. PJS Pannu sir, PVSM, AVSM, VSM. Ladies and gentlemen, we are also blessed to have the esteemed presence of Major General Dr. Manjeet Singh Mokha, retired SM, VSM, and he is a highly decorated signals officer and recipient of Sena Medal and Vishisht Seva Medal. Sir leads Skilling Division at the MERI Department of Space Studies. We have with us Air Commodore Himanshu Gopal sir, Sena Medal. He is an accomplished aviation engineering professional and a Sena Medal award. May I now request the esteemed dignitaries on the dais and Major General Manjeet Singh Mokha sir and Air Commodore Himanshu Gopal sir to kindly rise and come forward and mark the inauguration of ICMC 2026 by holding the official brochure. There's a correction. Major General Manjeet Singh Mokha sir is an infantry officer. Thank you. So thank you, esteemed dignitaries. Ladies and gentlemen, with this proud moment, ICMC 2026 stands officially inaugurated. Let the pursuit of justice, intellect, and advocacy begin. Before we proceed further, it is my privilege to acknowledge the distinguished panel of judges who will be guiding and evaluating this competition across its various stages. For the preliminary round, we are honored to have with us Advocate Rahul Rajpal, Advocate Nitin Singh, Advocate Shailja Upadhyay Shukla, Advocate Nishu Chaudhary, Advocate Simran Lote, Advocate Kamaljeet Khurana, and Advocate Siddharth Saini. Your presence brings immense value and credibility and depth to this competition. I now request Major General Dr. Manjeet Singh Mokha sir and Air Commodore Himanshu Gopal sir to felicitate our prelims judges.